Good afternoon. My name is Becky McLean, and I am the Program Supervisor at OSPI for Enrollment Reporting and Categorical Funding. And this is the Open Doors Enrollment Reporting Training for the 2015-16 school year. So for Open Doors, resources that are available to answer questions on Open Doors programming are, well, first, OSPI is developing an annotated guide regarding the Open Doors WAC. It'll be similar to the Digital Learning Department WACs, and we are developing it right now, and it will be available on the GATE program website, and here's the link to it. And we will include comments on the WAC as well as frequently asked questions, and templates that can be used by the program will be available. Also, the Open Doors rules are found in WAC 392-700, the entire chapter. If you have specific questions, here's a list of people to contact. Regarding your program itself, Lori Shannon is the one to call, and if you have questions about enrollment reporting, call me, and here's my available information. Also, if you have issues about complying with the requirements for Open Doors, Chris Morrison's information is here. So the basics for enrollment reporting for Open Doors programs is, first, a student must be eligible to be enrolled in an Open Doors program. And then additionally, a student must meet the requirements to be claimed for state funding. So who is an eligible Open Doors student? He is one who is age 16 to 21 on September 1st of the school year, and he is not enrolled in a high school program. This would include enrollment in a comprehensive high school, an ALE program, or another Open Doors program. So there's no splitting FTE based between different high school programs and Open Doors. However, there is the exception that allows a Open Doors student to access the super FTEs that are available for Skills Center and Running Start programs. And refer to slide 27 about these super FTEs. Also, there's an exception made for Jobs for Washington graduate programs. There, a student, JAG, is considered a high school program, but an allowance is made that allows a student to be enrolled in JAG as well as the Open Doors program. But remember that the student is limited to be claimed for no more than a combined 1 FTE when he's enrolled in both JAG and Open Doors. Also, an eligible student is one who is the resident of the reporting school district or has a completed choice transfer interdistrict agreements. So if a student is not a resident of the reporting school district, that reporting school district has no authority to claim the student unless there's a choice transfer or interdistrict agreement in place. And for more information on this, refer to Bulletin 00814 that was issued back in March of 2014. Also, an eligible student is one who has not graduated from high school or received an associate's degree from a college, and then he is additionally behind in credits needed to earn a high school diploma. And the credit deficiency of a student must be calculated. So we did do a rule change on the WAC, and the entire WAC chapter in the summer. It became final in August, but it requires that each eligible student, each student wishing to enroll in an Open Doors program, have their credit deficiency calculation done. And then if he's found not to be credit deficient, at that time, there is an allowance to to get a recommendation from someone. Here's the list of the people that can give the recommendation to enroll. So if the student's not credit deficient, then a recommendation can be had But remember to run the calculation even if the student isn't credit deficient. So the staff or the people that can create a recommendation is someone from the Department of Social and Health Services, a juvenile justice system, a district designated school personnel, or staff from agencies which provide educational advocacy services. It's important that the program retain documentation of the credit deficiency calculation as well as the recommendation to enroll. So if a recommendation was attained or was needed, that you retain that recommendation. So we did change in the WAC revision that was became final back in August. We did change the language about credit deficiency calculation. So the new language says the following. So at the time the student enrolls, he is significantly behind in credits based on the student's cohort graduation date compared to the student's cohort. So for definition reasons, a cohort graduation date is defined as the end of the fourth school year after the student first enrolls in ninth grade. And the cohort is defined as the group of district students that entered the ninth grade in the same year. So once you determine what the cohort graduation date is and what the student's cohort would have earned by that point, here is how the evidence of credit deficiency. So if the student's more than 24 months from his cohort graduation date, if he has less than the 65% of the earned credits that his cohort would have earned by that point. And then if he's between 12 and 24 months, it's 70%. He has less than 70% of the high school credits that his cohort should have had. And then less than 12 months, it's 75%. And then if the student has passed his graduation date by 12 months or more, that he never graduated from, if he's never met the district's graduation requirements, he's credit deficient. And then we also said that if he never entered the ninth grade, then if he had 0 high school credits, then he's credit deficient. So here's some examples of how credit deficiency calculation would occur. So in example 1, it's September 2015 and the student comes and wishes to enroll in the program. The student entered the ninth grade on September 2013. So therefore, 4 years later, his cohort graduation date would be August 2017. His cohort would be the 11th grade class, and based on the district standard, that cohort should have earned 12 credits. So if the student's number of months to graduate is 23, therefore if the student had 8 earned high school credits or less, the student is credit deficient. Example 2 shows that the student is January 2016 and the student wishes to enroll in the program, and therefore he entered the ninth grade on September 2012, and therefore his cohort graduation date would be August 2016, and his cohort would be the 12th grade class. And based on the district standard, the student should have earned 18 credits by this point. And therefore, if the student has earned 13 high school credits or less, the student is credit deficient. So we do have a template out on the Gates, the Open Doors website, and here's an example. Here it is. So if you want to use this to determine the credit deficiency calculation, this is a good form to use, one that we would recommend. So those are the requirements to be a student eligible to enroll in Open Doors program. Once a student enrolls in the program, he retains his eligibility until one of the following occur. If he earns a high school diploma, if he earns an associate's degree, or if he turns 21 before September 1st. So then the next thing to speak about is how do you count and claim the student for an eligible student for funding. So in the enrollment reporting world, we have what you call count days. And count days are a specific time in a month that you're counting your students in the program. We're taking a snapshot of that of your enrollment that month. So the count date for September is the program's 4th instructional day. And for the remaining months, October through August, it's the program's 1st instructional day of that month. So we'll go over now the requirements to claim an eligible student. First, the student must be enrolled in an open doors program. So an eligible student there must be evidence that he's enrolled in the program. Secondly, the student cannot exceed the 1 AAFTE. AAFTE is the annual average FTE. And a student is limited to be 1 AAFTE. And AAFTE is determined by adding up the student's monthly FTE and dividing by 10. So this kind of comes into play for the July and August enrollment. Typically, a student doesn't exceed his 1 AAFT until the end of June. So you want to make sure that no student, when you're running a summer program for July and August, that you determine that the student has available AAFTE. So, but you're not just looking at the program's enrollment. You have to look at the student's enrollment in high school, if he was at a detention center, a private school, and his home-based instruction. So when a student enrolls in your program, you should ask, okay, what have you done so far this year? And maybe contact the high schools or the institution, the private schools, and if he has an intent to homeschool on file for those months, he's considered 1 FTE for those months of homeschool, home-based instruction. Also, the Washington Youth Academy in Bremerton, that program actually claims students for much more than 1 FTE each month. So if you have students that were at the Washington Youth Academy and they say, oh, we count them for a 2 FTE each month, we'll just convert that to 1 FTE for the purpose of determining the student's AAFTE. So here's some examples. You see here on the first example, the student was only half-time for the fall months, September through December. So because he was only a 0.5 for 4 months, he does have available FT for the July and August. He could actually be a 1 FT for both of those months. The second example shows that the student was only a 0.5 in September. So therefore, all he has available for the summer months is a 0.5 in July. So also another requirement is participation. So for the very first month that the student is counted in that program, the only thing that's required to count him, other than that he hasn't exceeded the 1 AAFT and he's enrolled in the program, the other thing is that he must show participation on or before the count date. And evidence of participation would be instruction, case management, academic counseling, and career counseling. There's no specific amount of time that is required of participation, just that there was participation. So we would recommend that if a student came and they were wishing to enroll, completing the paperwork to enroll would not show participation, but meeting with a case management manager or a counselor to go over, their goals, their schedules. That would be participation. So then for the remaining months that the student is enrolled and being claimed, once he's been claimed first based on just participating on before the count date, the following months there's more requirements that must be met. One would be the attendance period requirement, and the other one is weekly status check. And then for classes that are below 100 level, the student has had to make academic progress within the past 3 months of being counted. So what is attendance period requirement? Well, that's been defined as, at minimum, 2 hours of face-to-face interaction with a designated program staff for the purpose of instruction, academic counseling, career counseling, or case management. It must be in-person interaction, and it does not need to occur at the program building. So it can occur at the student's workplace, his home, or a local meeting spot, perhaps a Starbucks. And it doesn't have to occur all in one time. So the 2 hours doesn't have to be in one day. It can be aggregated over the prior months. So meeting or having the student come in and having a meeting with them for 30 minutes every week, that would probably add up to 2 hours. So that would work. The other requirement for counting students for state funding is they must have weekly status checks. And the definition of that is individual interaction between a designated program staff and the student, occurring at least once every week that has at least 3 instructional days, and in which the student was enrolled in the Open Doors program for at least 3 instructional days. So a week is any day that has 3 school days. And let's say a student were to come to and enroll in your district on a Thursday, because Thursday, you only had two days that week, or the student he enrolled on Thursday, so they had Thursday and Friday were school days, and therefore there were not 3 instructional days, so there is no need for a weekly status check for that week. It can be accomplished in person or by phone, text, email, or other synchronous digital manner. It does not need to be reciprocal, so the staff can reach out, but there's no requirement that a response from the student is met. And again, there's no specific time that the weekly status check has to have, just that it occurred. And for students that may be at a state institution only, the weekly status check can be delivered through a third party at the state institution. So leaving a message with a parent would not meet this requirement, but leaving a message with somebody at the state institution to reach out to that student would meet that requirement. And depending on the program's, attendance period requirement frequency, the weekly status check and the attendance period requirements could be the same. So for example, if the requirement is that the student comes in 30 minutes every week, the student, and assuming that there's 4 weeks in that month, and the student came in for 30 minutes every week, then there he's fulfilling the 2 hours of face-to-face as well as the weekly status check. So how do you document the attendance period in the weekly status check? It's important that you retain documentation to support both of these requirements, and that this documentation must include the following. You must have the student's name, the program staff that was involved in the communication or the interaction, the date and time, and then if it is for attendance period support, you would need to provide a beginning and end time of the meeting. And if it's for to document weekly status check, you'd need to describe the method of delivery. Also, we need to know the purpose of this interaction. Was it instruction, academic counseling, career counseling, or case management? And then finally, there should be a summary of the communication, detailed enough to provide context. When both the attendance period and weekly status check requirements are being met at the same time, you want to make sure that you document that this is evidence of both of these requirements are being met. The documentation must be prepared by the person who's communicating with the student, and documentation may be maintained electronically. However, if you have any original supporting documentation, you should retain that too. So here is a nice spreadsheet that shows how programs are meeting these requirements. Listed are just, ones that Chris Morrison has gone and met with and has found that they've provided great records. So, and then the final thing for the requirement to claim a student for state funding is, we went over the fact that you needed attendance period and weekly status check. But for enrollment in below 100 level classes, the student has to have earned an indicator of academic progress, or what we call IEP, or a credential after being counted for 3 months. So it's not 90 school days, it's 3 monthly count days. And if on the 4th count date the student has not made academic progress, he cannot be counted by the program, but he can continue to be enrolled in the program. So, and you must retain documentation that shows that the student has earned an IEP and a credential. So how this kind of works is that, I think maybe I have another picture. I don't. If a student were to enroll in your program in September, you counted them for October, November, there you counted them for 3 months. In order to claim them for December, there must be an evidence of an IEP or credential earned from sometime from the September count date to November 30th in order to claim them for December. So part of the WAC revision that we did was we kind of clarified existing IEPs and we added some IEPs. So here they are. One earns a high school or college credit. Another is to pass one or more tests or benchmarks that satisfy the State Board of Education graduation requirements. Passes one or more high school equivalent certificate measures. Throughout the WAC, we do not refer to GED since it's trademarked. Instead, we use the term high school equivalency certificate to refer to GEDs. Also, another IEP is make significant gains in a core academic subject based on the assessment's tools determination of significant gains. So if you're testing your students, you would look at using a test. You would look to the test's tools or instructions on what is a significant gain to see if an IEP has been made. Also, successfully completes a grade level curriculum in a core academic subject that does not earn high school or college credits. Also successfully completes an approved college readiness coursework. Successfully completes a job search or job retention coursework. Successfully completes a paid or unpaid cooperative work-based learning experience of at least 45 hours. Enrolls in a college level class for the first time. This is limited to 1 time per student. So let's say you have a student who is just taking below 100 level classes, and then the next quarter he wants to, he's ready for college, so he enrolls in the college level class. That is an earned IEP for that 1 month. Also, an IEP is one that successfully completes an English as a second language class or completes an IBE class, Adult Basic Ed class, and then finally successfully completes a series of short-term and industry recognized certificates equaling at least 40 hours. So the credentials are received a high school equivalency certificate, so a GED here. A high school diploma is considered a credential. A college certificate after completing a college program requiring at least 40 hours. A college degree, and an industry recognized certificate or license after completion of program requiring at least 40 hours. But notice that this credential of a high school diploma and a college degree are considered credentials, but they're also, if a student were to earn those, he cannot continue in the program. He's basically no longer eligible to be enrolled in the program. So we often get asked this question about, okay, so since a lot of the Open Doors programs run year-round, they do have a July and August date, so you have students that are engaging in the summer. So now it's a new school year, and the question often we get is, how can we claim them for September? So if the student was claimed in August and he's continuing in the program for September, the student must sometime in August meet the attendance period requirement, the weekly status check requirement, and also for the last 3 months he was counted has shown academic progress. So let's say you had a student that was counted for June and July and August. In order to claim it for September, you're looking at making sure the student has met the the attendance period requirement in the weekly status check in the month of August. But you're also looking back on the last 3 months to make sure he's earned an IEP or credential. And that would be, you're looking at sometime from June 1st to August 31st. Is there an IEP or credential earned? If so, you could count him for September. If the student was previously enrolled in the program, but perhaps your program didn't run in the summer, or maybe he didn't have enough FTE to be claimed for August, in order to claim him for September, the only requirement there is that he's met the 3 months of academic progress requirements. So let's say, for example, the student took July and August off, but he was claimed for April, May, and June as one FTE. He took July and August off, and now he's come back in September. You'd need to look back on the last 3 months he was claimed, which was April, May, or June, and see if sometime from, what would it be, April 1st to August 31st, did he earn an IEP or a credential. Another way we also have been talking about, other terms we've been using is, in answering questions, is a returning student and a re-enrolling student. So a returning student is one who has left the program and was not counted by the program for at least 1 month, but no more than 9 months. So, for example, that the student that took the summer off, took July and August off, he would be a returning student because he left the program, was not counted for at least 1 month, but no more than 9 months. Also, a returning student, you want to make sure that he's eligible he hasn't aged out or earned a high school diploma or college degree as of September 1st. And to count that student, again, you're looking to make sure that the last 3 months that he's attained an IEP or credential. So this kind of refers to the example on the previous slide where the student took the summer off. He would be considered a returning student. But you could have a returning student who actually, let's say in December, he just says, I want to withdraw, and he takes a few months off and he comes back in maybe July, he still would be considered a returning student, and all you need there is to claim him for that first month is to make sure that the last 3 months he was claimed, so that maybe, what did we say, he left in December, so perhaps he was claimed for December, November, and October. You're looking to see, did he earn an IEP from October 1st to when he's returning. A re-enrolling student is different. This is a student that has been gone from the program for more than 9 months. Also, you want to make sure when he re-enrolls that he still is eligible based on his age and he hasn't earned a high school diploma or a college degree. But with a re-enrolling student, you don't need to look back on the last 3 months he was claimed by the program. However, you are required to redo the credit deficiency calculation because it's assumed that, he may have been gone for 9 months. Maybe he has earned some credits in high school or somewhere. And so it's important to redo the credit deficiency calculation, and you are also required to administer a standardized test within 1 month of enrolling or securing his tests that were taken more than 6 months prior to re-enrolling. So here's some common questions we get. So here, student A, after being claimed for 3 months, did not make progress. But in the 4th month, the student did earn an IEP. Can you claim him? And yes, so here a student, he first enrolled in September. He couldn't be claimed in December because he had not earned an IEP from September 1st to November 30th. But in December, he did earn an IEP. So because he did earn an IEP within the last 3 months of being counted, he could be counted for January. Even though he was maybe enrolled, 4 months have gone by, the fact that he was only counted for 3 months, and the IEP was actually earned in the 4th month when he wasn't actually able to be counted, that's fine. He can be counted for January. If the student did not meet the attendance period or the weekly status check requirements in the prior month, can you claim the student for funding? No. The student must have that in place in the prior month. And if student B cannot be counted, how does this affect his academic progress? Well, the fact that he wasn't counted because he didn't make attendance period or weekly status check requirements, therefore you're not needing to look at that month you didn't count to see if an IEP was earned. So here's an example of a student that couldn't be counted in December because he didn't meet the attendance period or weekly status check requirements, but he did make it in December, and in fact he actually earned an IEP in December, and because both of those were met, he can be counted in January. Okay, now that we've gone over what is required to have in place in order to claim a student for funding, now we'll go over what you are actually counting. And what you count is the FTE, the student's FTE. And it's first based on the level of classes the student is enrolled in. And there's different FTE calculations based on whether the class is a below 100 level class or a college level class. So first, to go over below 100 level classes. The FTE for these classes is not based on the student's workload, but it's based on the program's annual total planned hours of instruction. So the fact that the program is providing at least 900 total planned hours of instruction per school year, it's a full-time program, and therefore each student enrolled in one below 100 level classes or more is always counted as a 1 FTE. However, below 100 level classes are not claimed for non-vocational funding. So the vocational enhanced funding is not provided for below 100 level classes. The other FT calculation that we use in Open Doors is provided for college level classes. College level classes is similar to running start classes, and it's based on the college credits. 15 college credits equals 1 FTE. So to determine a student's FTE in college level classes, you would take the student's total enrolled college level class credits and divide by 15. If the student's taking more than 15 college credits, he's limited to just 1 FTE. However, with college level classes, if the college level class is taught by a certified instructor and it's a state approved vocational course, then you can claim a college level class for vocational funding. So a common question we get is, okay, we have a student that's taking both a below 100 level class as well as a college level class. How do you determine the student's FTE? Well, the fact that the student's in one below 100 level class, he can be claimed as 1 FTE, provided that he's making progress within 3 months. So if a student were to not be able to be claimed for the below 100 level class because he hasn't made progress in the last 3 months, therefore you would then be left just counting the college level class. So let's say, for example, you have a student that enrolled in a class, in both one below 100 level class in September and a college level class in September. You would be claiming that student as 1 FTE based on his below 100 level class for September, October, November. But if the student did not earn an IEP in that time frame from September to November 30th, then you would be able to only claim the student's college level class for December. And again, you would take the college credit and divide by 15, and that would be the FT that you could claim for December. So why would you claim a college level class? And here are the 3 reasons why you would actually look to the college level class. One would be what we just went over, the fact that the student did not make academic progress in his below 100 level class, and therefore you're limited to just the college level class to claim. Also, it'd be in the program's best interest to first claim the college vocational class. If the student's enrolled in a college vocational class, claim that first because you get the enhanced funding. And then finally, the only the reason you would claim a college level class is if that's all the student is enrolled in. He's enrolled in no below 100 level classes. So back to bullet number 2. So let's say you have a student taking a 5-credit college vocational class, and then let's say 2 below 100 level classes. Again, you want to claim that vocational class first, so you take 5 divided by 15 and you get a 0.33. So you'd claim the student as a 0.33 as a vocational FTE, and the remaining, because he's in 2 below 100 level classes, you take whatever remains of a 1 FTE, which is a 0.67, that you would claim for as non-vocational FTE. So we referenced this before, but there are some super FTEs, some areas where a student can be claimed for more than 1 FTE or 1 AAFT. We call them the super FTEs because that's what they are, but typically most students are limited just to 1 FTE except for these 2 cases. One would be Skill Center. So when a student is enrolled in an Open Doors program and a Skill Center, the students can be combined reported for a 1.6 FTE or AFT, but neither the Open Door program or the Skill Center can exceed the 1 FTE. The other super FTE is the Running Start, and there a student can be claimed by both the Open Doors program and Running Start for up to 1.2 FTE monthly or annually 1.2 AFTE. But again, the same applies. The program nor the college can exceed the 1 FTE. Or better said, the Open Doors program nor the Running Start program can exceed the 1 FTE. One thing to keep in mind with your Open Doors students enrolled in Running Start is the district that is reporting the Running Start enrollment must identify the student as an 11th or 12th grade. So, and the student is only limited to just the 11th and 12th grade year for Running Start. There is an allowance that you could do a third year of Running Start, but it's only for classes required to receive the district's high school diploma. So there is that limitation, and the WAC that references this is 392169055. So the program will want to work with the district to get the student's grade placement and make sure that the student only is enrolled in Running Start for those 2 school years. With Running Start, you want to make sure that you complete a Running Start verification form for these students showing how the FTE will be split. The Running Start verification form is used to let the district, the college, the parents, and the students know how the 1.2 will be shared and if tuition is going to be due to the college for any Running Start enrollment that exceeds the 1.2. For more information on that, refer to Bulletin 03715 dated August of 2015. That talks about 1.2 FTE, and that's where you can find the Running Start verification form. Open Doors students can be claimed for special ed and bilingual services, or what we call TBIP funding. So if the student qualifies for special ed funding, meaning he has an active IEP, a current evaluation, and he's receiving special ed services, he can be claimed by the district that is serving him on the P223H. The special ed funding is generated and it's paid to the student's resident district. So, also a student who qualifies for TBIP services because he was identified by taking the WELPA placement test and he's receiving TBIP services, he can be claimed on the P223 by the serving district, and the TBIP funding is generated and it's paid to the serving district. Districts can contract with the Open Doors program to provide either special ed or TBIP services, but the contract should stipulate how the program would be reimbursed for their services that they provide. Special ed and TBI enrollment is only limited to the September to June months. So if you are providing special ed services for the summer months or TBIP services, you do not receive funding for those for July and August. So it is, how do you report your enrollment? Now that we've gone through everything, how do I submit the enrollment? So first, the Open Doors program needs to complete the paper P223-1418 form. The program completes it and then they sign it certifying the accuracy of the enrollment being claimed. Then the form should be forwarded to the reporting district for this year by September 14th and then around the 8th calendar day of the remaining months. You may want to check with the reporting district exactly when they need it, but in order for them to meet their deadlines, typically getting it by the 8th would work best for them. The district may ask for backup information to be included with the P223-1418 form. For example, evidence of students meeting the requirements in order to be claimed. But what's most important is also that the program retain it, but the district may want the backup information. Then the district should review the form and make sure that, it's correct, based on their information. And also, if they find any incorrections, they should notify the program, and they too certify the form. Then the district would include the enrollment on their electronic P223. You would not include the Open Doors enrollment in the upper K-12 columns of that form. Instead, there's a box at the bottom of the P223 that's for Open Doors, and that's where you put this enrollment only. For districts that are running a summer program, you would report your Open Doors enrollment on a July and August P223. Not the, non-standard form, which is the P223S, which is what summer programs like skill centers and summer schools are reported on. So it's important that you retain all your records for audit purposes, and you'll want to make sure that you have evidence that supports the student's eligibility to enroll, and that would be the student's age, as well as the credit deficiency calculation, and if it was necessary to get the recommendation to enroll form. Then you need to make sure that you have evidence of the student's eligibility to be claimed. So those requirements that we went over that allows a student to be claimed for state funding. And that would include having the form, the P223 1418 form, and then the evidence of attendance period requirement, of meeting the weekly status check requirement. For below 100 level classes, evidence that the student has made academic progress after being claimed for 3 months. And then for college level classes, you want to make sure you have evidence of the enrolled credits that the student was enrolled in. So finally, Open Doors funding. How is your program funded? So it is funded based on the running start rate for that school year. And typically the running start rate is the state average 9 through 12 grade funding. And it changes every year. So for the 15-16 school year, the non-vocational rate is $6,308.69, but the vocational rate is $6,608.71. So the reporting district can retain a percentage of the allocation, and if you want to know what that percentage is, you would want to refer to your letter of intent and scope of work that you submitted to become an approved program. And finally, here is a spreadsheet that it's what we call the flow chart, and it kind of gives you a pathway where you can go through and answer the questions to see how you would calculate the student's FTEs. So if you just want to print this out, it's also available on the Open Doors website, but I find it helpful just to kind of go through and answer these questions if you have concerns about how to report students.